You start out as a sole founder. That feels courageous enough that you've kind of given up a day job, you're starting a business, you think, am I crazy to be doing this? Taking that first person on is like a massive leap of faith. And of course, it gradually kind of almost gets easier because you face the fear and you do it anyway. And if you just keep on facing the fear and doing it anyway, you'll look back in 2 years' time and think, wow, we're now a team of 15. How did that happen?
Right.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, and is sponsored by Leumi Tech, Hippo Insurance, Turing, Upwist Labs, and Hillel at Stanford. Managing a community is hard. Imagine managing one of 75,000 people. Meet Emma Jones, the founder of Enterprise Nation. Following a degree in law and Japanese, Emma joined international accounting firm Arthur Andersen, where she set up the inward investment practice that attracted overseas companies to locate in the UK. In 2000, bitten by the dot-com bug, Emma left the firm to start her first business, TechLocate, which was acquired after 15 months. Her current company, Enterprise Nation, has expanded to become a small business membership community of over 75,000 people.
Emma Jones, thank you for joining my show. How are you?
I'm very good, Michael. Thank you for having me on the show.
It's wonderful having you here. I'm really excited to hear about your journey. Today you're very much in the tech scene. You're one of the most popular and well-known and respected people in the United Kingdom tech scene. But that wasn't really the case when you just started out, getting a degree in Japanese and law, right? So tell me a little bit about how you get started with Japanese and you find yourself running a 75,000 person community in the tech ecosystem of the UK.
Well, there were lots of years that came in between, but yoroshiku onegai shimasu. So the Japanese came from the fact that I went to an international college to do what in the UK is called A-levels. I don't know what you'd call them in the States, but it's kind of the exam you take when you're 18 years old.
SAT, yes.
SATs. I was going to say maybe it's SATs, but I wouldn't want to assume that that's what it was. But I had gone to an international college. I lived in a place in the UK called Shropshire. It was in the middle of the country. And I went to this international college where there were 4 British people and everybody else was from all over the world. It was just this incredible, just kind of hodgepodge of international cultures, languages, vibrancy. So I went to study there, and this was in the years when, the Japanese economy is still strong now, but then it was at the time when lots of Japanese companies were moving into the United Kingdom. Japanese electronics companies were doing incredibly well. They were becoming world famous. And I had applied to university just to study straight law. And of course, when you're sort of growing up, you're always told from your parents, become a lawyer, an accountant, a doctor. So I thought, right, I'll take this kind of quite serious and steady kind of degree. But then I met all these incredible international students and thought, well, actually, maybe it would be more appealing from a business perspective if I added Japanese onto it, because I'll do law, which hopefully can help you in lots of different kind of business occupations. But actually, if you've got that language, surely that will kind of help me go further, do more things. So as you say, I studied law and Japanese. That involved spending a year in Japan when I was 21, which was incredible. I lived with a homestay Japanese family, which was just a cultural massive shock for a British girl from the middle of the country.
I'm sure.
But taught me a huge amount of things about business. I started my first business when I was there in Japan, teaching Japanese kids how to speak English. So that was kind of my first entrepreneurial experience. And as I say, kind of Japan really taught me to kind of grow up, actually, because I could see that the way that they had built this incredible economy was essentially lots of people working really hard. And I think I'd gone out there as kind of quite a playful university student. I was having a good time. And I think what that country taught me is to serious myself up and kind of put some work ethic in, and then hopefully you'll get the return. So yeah, quite an incredible experience.
I love that. And then you join an accounting firm, but I want to jump to the 2000 .com bubble that burst. And you mentioned to me that you had that bug, the 2000 .com bug, which led you to create your first company, which was also acquired within, I believe, 15 months. So how did that even originate, and how do you quickly pick up all the things that you need to know in order to run a successful business that gets acquired?
With lots and lots of help. So that's probably the biggest learning I had actually from that first business. So as you say, I'd joined a very big accounting firm at the time called Arthur Andersen, straight out of university. They sadly kind of went down when I left them actually on an accounting scandal with a company called Enron. But at the time, Anderson's was an incredible place to work. And actually, for any of your young listeners who are thinking, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to leave college and start out straight away, I have to say, one bit of advice that I offer, and admittedly this is based on my personal experience, but for me, I could not have started my first business if I hadn't had that 5 years experience with Arthur Andersen. So joining the firm, they taught me how to build proposals, they taught me how to deal with clients, they taught me how to pitch. You know, I literally would not be able to sell if it had not been for that experience of dealing with clients and knowing how to present a proposal. So it was an incredible 5 years. It built a client network for me, so I had confidence, I had contacts, and I don't think I would have had that if I'd started a business straight out of university. So I did the 5 years at Anderson's. It was the year 2000, it was the height of the dot-com boom, and everyone was incredibly energised at that time. And it was just this amazing moment to start businesses. So I started a business called techlicate.com. And what that company did is essentially what I was doing for Arthur Andersen was what was called inward investment. So again, this was helping companies from all over the world locate into the United Kingdom. And it was a very messy process. And of course, one of the incredible things about .com companies is through putting something online, you can hopefully make the process more efficient and take the friction out of it. So I essentially tried to build this business, which, as you say, was a very short-lived one, to take the friction out of the inward investment process. So my first company was with a co-founder. We launched. We didn't raise any money. We just went out hustling to go and get our founding capital. And yes, within 2 years, we'd got a call from a quoted company, which was called Tenon. And essentially they said, we've been watching you, we really like the look of your business, do you want to sell? And back to this question of how on earth do you know everything as to how to start, grow and then exit a business within a 2-year time frame? Fortunately, we had a really good mentor in that business. So a guy who'd been around the block, he'd started, grown and sold businesses before. And it was just invaluable that essentially anything that we didn't know, I was 27 at the time, my co-founder was 28, we'd never run a business before. So we would just run to our mentor and kind of say, what do we do now? And I will never forget, just as a final piece of kind of information from that episode, is when we were approached by this company who wanted to buy us. They had made the approach and essentially they said to us, what do you want to sell for? What kind of price are you looking at? And so we ran to our mentor and we were like, okay, we've been approached by this company. They've asked us how much we want to sell for. How much do we want to sell for? And I will always remember him saying, and it's a piece of advice that's just stayed with me forever, is he said, look, you know, from an accounting perspective, of course, we can look at the value of your company. It's 10 times your EBITDA, which in Britain we call earnings before interest, tax, depreciation. So, of course, you can do that accounting approach. But he said the thing is, first of all, they've made the approach and the value of a company is whatever someone is prepared to pay for it.
Right.
The value of a company, whatever someone is prepared to pay for it. And this is the thing. We said, of course it is. So we went back to Tenon. We said to them, look, you name your price and then we'll let you know if that's something that is amenable. It was. And so within a couple of years, as you say, I'd sold the business. And then I did what's called an 18-month lock-in clause, which means I then stayed working for the acquirer. And then on the day that was allowed to come up, I was off and started the next one.
Amazing. So speaking of the next one, and I think that it's a perfect segue talking about the mentorship you received and the advice that you got from the experts, from those that have done it numerous times in the past. And I think that there's a very big shift in general, especially in Silicon Valley and where I'm from in Tel Aviv, where institutional money is no longer just a mechanism for you to be able to extend your runway, but it's now more than ever about forming these partnerships with those that have done it before and have advised. So you're saying, a multitude of investors wanting to invest in the same company, and the company now it's a two-way street. Getting that expert advice. So I can totally see what you're saying here. But even before we talk about how you solve that need with Enterprise Nation, which I have to say I'm blown away by the community that you've built there, talk to me a little bit about the tech ecosystem for small businesses as you see it. So it's not really a small startup. It's not really a huge enterprise. You really started understanding some of the issues that small businesses are facing, right?
Well, I'd love to say that the tech ecosystem in the UK is very strong. We have massive startup rates in the UK. And again, if I kind of look back in 2012, I was involved with a campaign called Startup Britain, which was a big national effort to encourage lots of people to start businesses. And kind of on the back of that and lots of other things besides, we have a really positive environment in the UK towards entrepreneurship. It's really easy to start a company. There is a lot of external finance. There's huge amounts of support. Whether you're, starting a tech business or a fashion business, you'll find someone or some organisations that are there to support you. And so I guess what the UK has always tried to cultivate is this environment where if you want to start a business and just run it on your own terms, this used to be called, but I hate this term, like a lifestyle business. So a business where it just earns you an income, but you're happy with that, then the UK has got a very conducive environment. But actually, just before coming on to speak to you, Michael, I tweeted about a speaker who's going to speak for us in an event we've got on Saturday. So on Saturday, we have an event called Startup 2021. We've got 2,000 startups rocking up. Of course, it's online. It's the 9th year this event has happened. It's the first time we've had to host it online because normally everyone comes into a building. We do all this physically. But anyway, and we've just announced a brilliant British entrepreneur who launched the business Hopin, which whether you're in Tel Aviv or Silicon Valley, I think you'll have heard of. So the founder, Johnny, started this business in 2019. He started it in the UK, and Hopin has become a unicorn business within the space of 2 years. So it's valued at $2 billion.
Wow.
I have to say he is now running it out of San Francisco. So there's a key question for the UK there is how did we help launch someone and then lose them to Silicon Valley? But at least we got him started. And so this is the kind of thing is hopefully kind of back to that, what is the scene in the UK, whether you want to start a business and use Shopify as your tech foundation to kind of build an e-commerce shop, or whether you want to be a Johnny and launch a Hopin, which is valued at $2 billion within 24 months, you are welcome to do that. And it's kind of the UK has cultivated this incredible can-do attitude. And to be honest with you, Michael, everyone in this country is just hoping that things like Brexit don't have a negative impact on that. So we're all kind of holding our breath and hoping that the entrepreneurial spirit in this country remains.
So when you say that the UK is supportive of it, I'm assuming that you're referring to the regulators, the government, that they're taking active approaches to help entrepreneurs run their small businesses or potentially reach those unicorn statuses, right?
Well, we actually think of kind of this 3 constituent elements that I think you have to get right when you're kind of looking at building a whole environment. The government has got a vital role to play. So absolutely, when it comes to regulation, creating sandbox environments, that's really important. So the government has to do its work. The other element, though, is large corporates. So we have we're an incredible headquarter location for the likes of Amazon, Uber, Deliveroo, Facebook. And of course, big corporates are always looking to sort of buy in innovation into their own companies.
Right.
So that can create a really kind of furtive environment for new startups. Is if you're a new startup and you think maybe I might get acquired by one of these big companies or I can sell into them. So we've got a really strong kind of corporate venturing sort of activity and attitude in the UK. So there's kind of government, the role of big corporates, and then the third thing is essentially the role of your fellow founders. So do you have strong peer networks in a country where, and Michael, you'll know this, is when you're starting and growing a tech business or any business, it can be very lonely, especially if you're a sole founder. You have challenges every day, you've got constantly things to think about, and to be able to have a really strong peer network, it is probably the thing that will make the difference between whether you keep growing that business or you decide to give up. So I think all of those kind of, if you get those three things right, government, big corporates plus cash as well, and then kind of strong peer networks, then you've got a good kind of circular economy to hopefully help tech founders do well.
And I think that also leads us to the conversation about, what you've understood about this, both the peer networks, I guess, or the support that small businesses need. So even if they have the runway, even if they have the support of the government, they have the right co-founders and they have the right employees, it's still not enough to go through that journey successfully. So what was your insight into that scene, and then how did you build Enterprise Nation to tackle that problem?
Well, yeah, I was going to say Enterprise Nation was built to help people to get through that. So, yeah, and as you say, we're kind of now, and, it's an incredible business to run because we are very community-led, even though, interestingly, I have had to become more of a tech founder as I've grown Enterprise Nation, because we are a platform business. We're a marketplace that connects small businesses to all the support and advice they need. And therefore, if you looked around my home office at the moment, it is filled with books, Platform Strategy, The Lean Marketplace, Platform Revolution. So I am vociferously reading at the moment on how to build a platform business. So, we're always evolving Enterprise Nation in terms of it has to deliver on the needs of the community. And our community increasingly wants access to support, advice, content, resources, and therefore we just have to keep on building an ever more effective platform that connects them to doing that. So Enterprise Nation absolutely was created to help kind of small businesses essentially get through that growth phase. The most difficult thing, literally the most difficult thing when starting and growing a business is going for that first hire. It's kind of, how do you go from you to two? So, you start out as a sole founder. That feels courageous enough that you've kind of given up a day job. You're starting a business. You think, am I crazy to be doing this? Taking that first person on is like a massive leap of faith. And of course, it gradually kind of almost gets easier because you face the fear and you do it anyway. And if you just keep on facing the fear and doing it anyway, you'll look back in 2 years' time and think, wow, we're now a team of 15. How did that happen? We're bringing the sales in. And so our job at Enterprise Nation is to give people both the confidence they need to take those steps, but also to give them kind of the practical information to get it right. Right.
And so obviously leading a community of 70,000 people is much different than leading a community of, as if you're an accelerator and you have a small batch of small businesses that you're helping. So what have you learned about operating a community at scale, providing value at scale? Because at the end, the value is for every small business asks itself, okay, what did I gain from being a part of Enterprise Nation? So it has to be still very personalized while it's at scale. How do you balance those two seemingly clashing ideologies and KPIs?
So it's a really good point, and it's a question we raise almost every day in the business. How do we offer a universal service to a large number of people? And in the past 12 months, we've had over 500,000 small businesses come onto the platform looking for answers to their questions, looking for support. So how do we offer a universal service to a lot of businesses whilst giving absolutely, as you say, that deep experience where they felt they had a personal connection with someone? And this is where it comes back to the fact that what we are increasingly is a marketplace. So the only way at scale that you can support up to 500,000 small businesses with human actual advice that's relevant to their needs is not by Enterprise Nation delivering that advice to the business, but is by connecting that business owner with a multitude of advisors. So on our platform, we've got over 15,000 advisors on our platform. So these are accountants, social media experts, HR advisors. And, I never want to have a company where I've got 15,000 people on my payroll who I'm paying to advise small businesses. But all of these 15,000 people, they run their own business. They are in the business of giving advice to small businesses. Our job is to very quickly identify the need of the small business owner. So a business owner comes onto Enterprise Nation. We have to really quickly find out, where do you need help? Is it sales? Is it marketing? Is it finance? As soon as we know that, we have to make what we call make the match. How do we make the best match between that business owner and the kind of support that they need in the form of people, content and events? So that's the way to do it at scale, is by connecting one person to a whole group of support they need, but hopefully whilst doing that in what feels like a friendly environment where you feel you know the people who are delivering it. So it's the constant challenge of how we get that right, but hopefully we're doing okay.
No, it sounds fascinating. And I think that the way you're thinking about it as a marketplace and the value you're providing both to the person who's giving the advice and person getting it, I think it's remarkable. And it's definitely how it should be. So, Emma, thank you so much for joining my show. It was really a pleasure having you here. 20 minutes go by way too fast. But the most important question that I have to ask is 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
So I hope you don't think this is a cop-out, Michael, but the 3 words I'm going to use are loves small business.
I love that. Emma, this was wonderful. Thank you very, very much. Best of luck. I can't wait, when I have a small business, to join the Enterprise Nation as well. And stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
The same to you, Michael. Thanks for having me. Take care.